All right, all you Gun Talk hunters, I'm your host, KJ, and today we're talking hydration, hydrating that body. And today's episode is brought to you by Benelli USA, and Range Ready Studios.
Hey, I'm KJ, dedicated lifelong hunter here. If you got an interest in all things hunting, you're in the right spot. Whether chasing quail across the plains of Oklahoma or in pursuit of elk in the backcountry of British Columbia, you'll always find me on the hunt.
All right, welcome in all you Gun Talk hunters. I'm your host, KJ, and welcome into another installment of everybody's fourth favorite podcast, probably, Gun Talk Hunt. I'm here today with Aly from Alabama. That is how you'll find her on Instagram. But Aly Hall, welcome in.
Thanks. Thanks so much for having me, KJ. It means a lot.
All right. So who is Aly from Alabama, and how did you get started in this? I mean, because you do everything. I primarily would say you're a hunter, because in my mind, probably in your mind, fishing is also hunting. So I just say I'm a hunter, which that kind of closes everything in. How'd you get involved?
Totally. So, actually, it's all thanks to my very patient husband, who at the time was just a boyfriend that, oh, by the grace of God, had a loaded amount of patience, because I was 20 years old and had never shot a gun, had never shot a bow, had a really tainted taste of what hunting looked like from growing up in rural Alabama with what we call rednecks around here. That, from what I thought, it was kind of egotistical. But I met him, a Southern boy from Mississippi, who totally changed the game for me and got me involved into everything outdoors. Like you said, I call myself a hunter, but he introduced me to bow fishing, fishing for bass, and noodling.
Yeah, the whole noodling thing. I'll just be honest with you. You're freaking crazy for doing that. And these aren't like small cats you're after. Like you have some legit monsters.
Oh,
Which I've done it a couple times, but the first time I grabbed a beaver foot, I was done. I was like, no, I'm good. Because
wow.
because I was a blocker. And so I was down there and I was like, no, he's coming towards me. They're like, something's in here. I don't know if it's a catfish though. And ended up being one of those, giant beavers that carries trees.
Whoa. What
Yeah.
state were you in when you did that?
Oklahoma.
Of course, of course. Yeah. No, I've absolutely loved noodling. It's probably, and I hate to say it out loud, it probably is my favorite of all the things he's taught me to do, to my dad's dismay, because he cannot stand that Cody introduced me to that. But we've never been the type to go to like a sketchy bank that you can clearly tell is a beaver hut of some
Yeah.
sort, and the air pockets and stuff in it where they are living. That's not my type of noodling.
No, no.
We've got some natural spots, but they're a lot safer than
Oh,
that.
thank goodness. I'm telling you that I don't think that kind of noodling is anybody's favorite, because like no one should be doing that. Absolutely no one. And I probably went with some less experienced folks. So I'm glad your husband's experienced and taught you the right way to do it, because that tainted my view of noodling forever.
Oh, rightfully so. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I have some friends that do that, like noodling for snapping turtles, and they do similar to what you're saying. And I'm like,
No.
never in my life. Yeah. So there are
No.
things I wouldn't try.
Wait, can't they bite you underwater?
Legitimately, yeah, they can. But supposedly, from what the little I've been educated from my Indiana friend Allison, who also noodles with me every summer. We take a girls' trip and she comes down and we go. She started doing this about 2 years ago. And supposedly they're supposed to enter the hole with their head. So they go in and they don't
Oh,
turn around. They're supposed to exit backwards. But I don't think I would take the risk of somehow that turtle got turned around and I stuck my hand in there.
right. And then you walk out like with one less finger. Like that's not cool at all. My gosh, I
Exactly.
can't believe that's like that turtle man. Like I cannot imagine that guy going in there and doing what he does. Like how he has a full hand of fingers is beyond me.
No, yeah, your bolts have to be loose upstairs to
Oh
be
yeah,
brave to do that stuff.
absolutely. Anyway, I didn't bring it's awesome talking noodling, and I'm sure our hunting crowd enjoys it. Just because it gives us a little background on who we are. How long have you been doing, and how did you know that you were actually really good at this?
Oh, I'm really good at it? Well, thank you.
Well, yeah.
It took I mean, I've been doing noodling now for 7 years, noodling and hunting all together. Somehow he convinced me right after we started dating, we went into turkey season and then bow fishing and then noodling was right there. So somehow he convinced me to dive in head first into all of that. But noodling, if you consider me good at it, thank you. I'll pat myself
Yeah.
on the shoulder for that. Um, Honestly, there's not much to it. Like I feel like people in their heads, which you've gone, so you
Yeah.
now know what that process looks like. It goes against all common sense, but really once you get there and you do it one time and that first bite happens, it comes natural after that.
Yeah.
I shouldn't say it comes natural, but it feels
Yeah, it flows along
know
well.
what to expect. Yeah, you
Yeah.
know what to expect. And so after those first couple of times of him trying to convince me, like, hey, I'm gonna go down there and then it's your turn. After that, once the first bite happened and you learn how to get a good grip of the fish,
Yeah.
and I learned that I have bony enough arms that I can, for most part, fit my arm behind a fish's gill plate without hurting a fish. And that was my good way to get a good hold of it. I guess I gained my confidence in that. And once you get a good streak going, you feel pretty
You
good
become
about it.
great at it. Um, so so if noodling is your first favorite, what would be your probably second favorite?
Whitetail hunting,
Yeah.
100%.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. That's the easy
We
way
get
to go.
a long season here in the South, and I'm spoiled by that, and we also can take $3 a years and
Yeah.
$3 a year and a doe a day, and so it's like, as long as my work schedule and mom's schedule allows for it, I can get
Yeah.
out there as much as I want to, and that is such a good feeling. We all know that's a great reset to go sit in a
It is.
stand. Wow.
And that's you guys are probably wondering like how did you guys get hooked up? So we're actually doing this is more of like a kind of a podcast slash PSA on hydration. And I say all this because noodling takes place in the hot summer months. This is not something that you're going to go jump in a ice cold, water bath and go start doing. You do it in the hottest months, and then when we're heading into these hunting seasons, it's it's that time of the year when hydration seems to take a back seat for a lot of folks. Summer months, you kind of think about it more, but in the fall, whitetail hunting, elk hunting in the backcountry, moose hunting, wherever you're at, hydration should be like number one or number two. I mean, it really should be. What do you think about that?
I think you're a 1,000% right about that. Like you said, during the summer months, it's a no-brainer. People are loading a cooler up before they go get on a bass boat or a pontoon or anything. May have a mixture of some alcohol in there too for the
Yeah.
pontooners. For the most part, yeah, everyone is taking hydration seriously, being in the sun for 8 to 12 hours a day. When it comes to being in the stand, you're right. A lot of people neglect it. I was actually someone who neglected it until I went on my first hunt out west to Idaho, and I was 7 months pregnant. And
Jeez.
fortunately, I had tried hoist prior to that hunt. And when I found out that my buddies and I were going to go out there on public land, I ordered a bunch of it and I shipped it to our buddy in Idaho's house. And I
Yeah.
said, this is what we're bringing to camp. We got up there and I will never forget it. The elevation was insane. I wish I could remember the number now that we were at, but also wildfires had come through. And so the
Mm.
air was still really dense and still had smoke in some areas. So we were already struggling, and I'm pregnant, trekking around carrying a pack, and my husband's carrying a little extra weight for me, but I'm still carrying stuff. And I said, guys, I hate to do this to you for the 20th time, but I've got to sit down and drink. I feel so
Yeah.
thirsty. I sat down and I drank an orange hoist, and I kid you not, it was like a light switch. And I still have that picture. Maybe I can provide it, and in some capacity we could show it. But I had an orange hoist, and I'm sitting on this log, and I took a picture, and I was like, I will never drink another sports drink other than this ever again. Because like a lot of us drink caffeine, and we are looking for that, like the feeling of, okay, I got to pick me up. I
A
feel
pick me
better.
up. Yeah.
This was the first sports drink that I drank, and I was an athlete in high school, middle school, all through my like young growing while as I was growing up. I never felt that actual like pick me up from a sports drink. I
Right.
felt it out on that mountain with Hoist, and I have been addicted ever since. And that was prior to working for the company. I didn't start working for Hoist until 2 years ago, this October.
Yeah, and that's Hoist, and, you can find out more about them on I think it's Drink Hoist?
Yeah, www.
drinkhoist.com, HOIST.com. It's funny because they offer a lot of different, I guess, different varieties and means of hydration, whether it's a powder pack like I've got right here, or in a bottle form, or even like the soft like plastic little bags. And I think, yeah, there you go. She's showing one right now. They offer in a lot of different ways, and there's a reason for that. I would definitely recommend, and one thing that I found, so I went to Colorado a couple years back and realized like hydration really starts weeks before your outing. Like you need to stay up on your hydration before that, to avoid any crashes, major meltdowns. And I didn't realize that. And I got out in the mountain, and first day, I was like, man, why am I mean, I couldn't make it. Like I couldn't make it, 2, 3 miles outside of camp, and I crashed. I didn't realize how big of hydration plays on your body's ability to perform at greater altitudes. I'm a lowlander right here. Um, and so that's one of the things that like these hydration drinks, and this is so Hoist is a little bit different, but Allie and I are going to get into that right after this break from a word from our sponsors. BenelliUSA.com. Progressive balancing. A balanced shotgun is everything you need in the field. And I'm going to tell you right now, Benelli USA, they operate on a very high level. I've shot a few of them, and I have the Benelli Vinci, which I have broken ice with that gun. I've paddled boats with that gun, and I've cleaned it twice. Wait, no, I've only cleaned it once. So, and it runs like a top. The inertia-driven system is unmatched. But I want to talk to you today a little bit about the 828U Sports shotguns. These are fine shotguns, and receiver finish is engraved matte blued steel and a barrel finish of the matte blued. So they are beautiful, progressive comfort, white bead front sight, and they point like a dream. So last time I shot one of these guns was in a field, and an outfitter had one, and I just took it out for some clay shooting. And it pointed so naturally for me that it really gave me a thought to, man, I got to go buy one of those. But it's perfectly balanced, and it's got a steel receiver, so it's very nice. It's very durable, and I expect the same durability as I do from my Benelli Vinci. So give them a look at BenelliUSA.com. Also, Range Ready Studios. If you want to pull a trigger like no other, literally like no other, like if you want to be like Chris Sereno or Chris Sereno adjacent, man, I would highly recommend jumping into rangereadystudios.com to find your next class. It will help you become a better hunter. I promise you, because it is actually working for me. It sounds like a self-help advertisement right here. It's almost like I'm giving you guys, it helped me, so it'll help you. Well, that's just how it works. You walk away a better shooter all around, whether that's pistols, rifles, heck, it's even helped my bow hunting. So get it on rangereadystudios.com to learn more. All right, we're back with Aly from Alabama. That's how you're going to find her on Instagram. She's Aly Hall. And I'm your host, KJ. And we're talking about hoist hydration. And we're talking about hydrating yourself for a hunt, before a hunt, after a hunt, all that good stuff. But Aly, give us an idea of who Hoist is, before we really dive into like some little tips and tricks that they can use Hoist to better their hunt.
Yeah. I would say Hoist is for the go-getters. They're for the authentic outdoorsmen out there, authentic athletes. But most importantly, they really stand for our first responders and our military. They have been trailblazing the sports drink section and local retailers since like 2012, and have really started to define this category called isotonics, which is how they've set themselves apart. And I'd really love to dive into that too
Yeah.
in our conversation.
Yeah. Yeah. Go, man, just dive right in because I kind of let you have the floor, and I've got a couple of solutions, but you know the company better than I do, so you need to tell that story.
Yeah, I think a big thing people overlook in hydrating, we all think water or we think sports drinks. And so
Mhm.
if we break down those categories, in sports drinks, you've got hypertonic formulas, which are the formulas that have too many carbs, so a whole lot of sugar, and not enough electrolytes, which typically are like magnesium, calcium, and potassium.
Yeah.
Um, Whenever you have a hypotonic sports drink with a ton of carbs and not enough electrolytes, your body is actually using your stored electrolytes to break down those carbs and put them into your system, which is delayed reaction time.
Right.
Not ideal for when you're out in the field, especially like we were just talking about out in the mountains. Then you've got hypotonic drinks, which are the ones that are like your zeros or just plain water or low sugar sports drinks. Those have zero to no carbs, very low electrolytes, and a whole lot of water, which causes your body to pull your electrolytes and your carbs to digest that into your system. Which, as an athlete, I can remember being back on the court in basketball and chugging a sports drink during halftime, going back out there and running and physically being able to feel and hear whatever I just consumed in my
Right.
stomach. So that's what hypertonic and hypotonic sports drinks do. They sit in your stomach for until your body uses what it's got in its system to break it down. Hoist is isotonic. It has the perfect balance of electrolytes, of carbs, and of water to immediately absorb into your bloodstream. We say it almost perfectly matches your bloodstream. You get instant hydration, which is why it's called IV level hydration. It
Okay.
doesn't sit at all. Yeah. So
Okay.
that's when I was
So
referring to the mountain instant pick me up. You feel it.
oh, yeah. Yeah. So a lot of the stuff that we utilize around here, because honestly, like I hadn't heard of hoist for a while, and then our good buddy reached out to me and was like, "Hey, have you tried this yet?" And I was like, "No, really great. Does give you a pick me up. How's this? How would you compare this to like your liquid IVs or your Pedialytes, that type of stuff?"
Yeah, so actually, a little funny backstory on Hoist. Like I mentioned earlier, it's been around for a really long time, but it sat in Cincinnati's backyard for quite some time, where both of our co-founders were raised and went to school and have been best buddies all their life. They had a friend who was playing collegiate sports. I believe he was actually going on into like the NFL, and he
Okay.
told them they were doing their fair share of drinking and bar hopping in Cincinnati. And he was like, guys, I know you probably think it is Gatorade in those orange iconic coolers on the sidelines, but let me let you in on something. It is Pedialyte in there. It's
Yeah.
it it's instant. It doesn't sit in our stomachs, and it'd be great for you for a hangover. And so um Ken and I mean Kelly and Ben, I always do that with their two names.
Yeah.
Kelly and Ben, our founders, they were like, Pedialyte, you mean like the drinks for babies that taste absolutely terrible? We are not consuming that while we're like out bar hopping. But it got some wheels spinning, and they
Yeah.
went to what they call a very expensive beverage college where they tested out and got all these different formulas going and basically mimicked Pedialyte, but made it taste a whole heck of a lot better.
Yeah.
So when you compare it to Pedialyte, it can be very simple. It just doesn't taste as bad and it's not made for children. And then if you compare it to Liquid IV, which we get a lot,
Hmm.
that company had the marketing dollars to put behind their product as soon as it rolled out the door. It's very similar, except Liquid IV has a lot more sodium than Hoist
Okay.
contains. It's on like a medicinal level of sodium. It's,
Right.
hey, once you are beyond dehydrated, you should be consuming something like this. Or there's others like Drip Drop, I think, is another example of that. Um, and otherwise, a big differentiator for us that I feel like is important in this day and time is we're a brand that stands for something, and
Hmm.
that's first responders and the military and this niche of people that may not be a part of cancel culture but want to stand for something. So I feel like that's a really big differentiator between us and the brands that you
Yeah.
mentioned as well.
That's awesome. Well, so let's start transitioning and really help the listeners out there. Um, when should you start consuming this? Like, because in my thought, like your liquid IV, like those are my in case of emergency.
Yeah.
Because what I would do in the backcountry is if I've got a pack on and I'm hiking through the mountains and everything, I'll have an Nalgene bottle on my hip that's filled with water. That's for when I sit. And then in my camel pack, when I'm, hiking through the mountains and I've got it readily available, that was my liquid IV where I just take a small hit off of it as I was going just to try to keep up with that,
Really.
the hydration levels. That's just my little tip. And I know you've got more because when do you choose the powder form? When do you choose the bottle form or the pack form as you guys also have?
Yeah, I feel like and it is totally gonna vary by every situation. Like for yours, you keep a pack on you with an Nalgene bottle.
Yeah.
For me, when I was out in the mountain, we had a camp that I knew were able to get a vehicle to and from, and so that's why I brought the bottles. The kicker about Hoist is the OG of our product line is the bottles, which are
Yeah.
an isotonic formula. That is the most ideal formula for you to have out in the field because it instantly absorbs into your bloodstream. What you and I have also been talking about is the powder sticks
Yes.
and what we call our flex pouch, which is the squishy pouch, kind of like a Capri Sun for an adult. Those did not come into play until 2019 when we built a relationship with the military and said, hey, you guys are not giving warfighters enough carbs and enough electrolytes. We want to provide you that formula. So we made a relationship with the Department of Defense. They gave us their criteria, and we gave them the highest amount of carbs, the highest amount of electrolytes that those warfighters could consume.
Yeah.
But because of those dietitians' needs and specs, these are not considered IV level. These are basically like pouring some carbs and electrolytes into your
Right.
Nalgene. You're still going to feel it. You're still going to feel the effects of it, but it's not going to be isotonic like the bottles. My vote is to always try to bring a bottle in your pack or to pour one of the bottles in your Nalgene.
Yeah.
But if that's not ideal, the powder packs are delicious. They're just not going to be instant replenishment.
Okay. So that's good. That would actually go well into into my system. The sticks, the powder sticks.
Yeah.
That would go better into like a camelback or your backpack. That way, because they're easily packable. And if you're just kind of hitting on them every once in a while, adds flavoring to, your water and it's giving you the nutrients that you need.
And I will say we have a lot of partners who are pretty badass, and one of them is a former Navy SEAL named Chad Wright, who is also an ultra marathon runner. He consumed like 248 something powder packs on a 100-mile race that he recently did this past summer, actually, in Arizona. If that is not proof in this formula,
Yeah,
and the
no
fact
kidding.
that it digests well into your stomach and it won't sit there. I mean, he can talk about the stomach effects so great, and he did.
Yeah.
Totally recommend checking out that documentary that he did on it. I think it speaks for itself. So yes, it's totally going to depend on the system that you have, how much weight you're wanting to carry, what camp looks like for you, etc. But that's
And
why we have options.
yeah, and it's good it's always nice to have options because there's guys that 100% will not carry one of these bottles into the backcountry. There's no way you can get them to do anything like that, which I don't blame them, man. When ounces matter, like
Agreed.
the little powder sticks are great. It's a great option for you. And just pre-mix your water. Like if you're carrying water in, if you're going on horseback, just pre-mix it all or just dump a bunch of bottles in a water jug and then now you've got it. Like
Yeah.
so there's
I
ways to get around.
I have a buddy who just went out to Colorado, and him and his buddies were out there. I don't know if they were chasing muley or elk or what they were after, but he was telling us that I sent him some powder packs. They were using snow and melting snow down into their Nalgene's or water bottles, whatever
Yeah.
they have. They were pouring the powder packs into this
Oof.
fresh water from snow. I'm like, hey, whatever works. That's your
As long as it's not the first snow or it's yellow.
right.
Those are the two things, not the
Yellow
first one and not the yellow snow. Those are
Yes.
absolutely 100% what you don't want to be drinking. Uh, well, good deal. You have any tips for hydration on staying up on hydration and, how often can they consume hoist? I mean, is there a limit that is recommended?
We get that question a lot. We've never had someone consume so much hoist in one day that they drowned internally or that they got to feeling yucky.
Yeah.
I mean, just be smart. If you're gonna be sitting in an office all day long, maybe it doesn't make total sense to sit there and chug
Yeah.
3 hoists for the day. But I always say start the day off with hydration. It has become so popular to consume caffeine. We wake up and we say, "Oh, I'm still a little sluggish and tired. I want some
Man.
caffeine for that pick me up." Well, you don't realize is you're probably not even that tired. You're probably a little dehydrated from whatever you lost in your sleep and from the last time you actually drank a glass of water. So
Yeah.
start the day off with hoist. It will be a huge game changer in even your mental alertness.
Oh, yeah.
And then for those in the field, I think I would say just a little last nugget of advice, especially for people in the South like me that aren't necessarily pursuing big game and having to hike a good bit to get there. Like
Yeah.
it's relatively flat and we're sitting in a stand. It's so easy to overlook how dehydration or the effects of dehydration rather can affect your hunt. I mean, you're talking about your physical performance being lower, your endurance being lower, mental alertness is lower when you're dehydrated. It gets pretty cold here in the South. Your body can regulate temperature so much easier when you're hydrated. And when it's hot and we're sweating in October in the deer stand, it's nice to prevent a heat stroke with
Yep.
hydration. So instead of starting the day off with a cup of coffee, I just say drink a bottle of hoist, or if you're not into hoist, at least drink some water. I think
Yeah.
it can make
Oh,
a huge
I can't do the coffee. First thing in the morning, there's no way I'm doing that. Not I can't do coffee
difference.
anyway.
I
Anybody who
love
knows me knows I'm a candy coffee kind of guy. Like, send me to a Love's truck stop and I'll get the French. I'll do the like suicide. I'll do a French vanilla mocha, the caramel, the macchiato. Like, I'll just line them all up, and that's the kind of coffee I drink. So don't judge me. Well, you can judge me.
made
Um,
my hurt.
but no, I'm headed out to Montana for an elk and mule deer hunt in the upcoming weeks, and I've already started to hydrate for that trip. I try to stay well hydrated, on the regular, but I've like made a deliberate choice to go, okay, like this is your goal. You're going to get a gallon of water in every day. Your first thing you drink in the morning is water. Like try to
That's
stay up on it because I know it's a whole mental aspect of it. Like I want to stay mentally in the hunt, and I've got 3 weeks. Sorry about that. Uh, of hunting, like continuous hunting, like that it is going to take a physical and mental toll on my entire body. So, man,
ugh.
start preparing early.
You're right. Yeah. I feel like backcountry hunters are an athlete. And I'm not saying whitetail hunters aren't. There's a lot that goes into the pursuit
Right.
down here in the South too. But that is just another level of physical exertion to be out in the
Yeah.
backcountry. So totally agree with you on preparing for it well before.
And
It's almost like an
oh,
ultra marathon. Yeah, you can't
yeah.
just walk through it.
Well, and like the stand hunters too, like you might be, so what I see most of all are guys going, well, I'm just gonna, this is when like the 3 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, like doldrums get to you and you're sitting in the stand and you're going, man, why am I so tired? Like that has to do with like, with your hydration levels for sure. Because I mean, when you're sitting in a stand and it might only be like 50 degrees out or 60 degrees out, but man, if you build that thing out of metal or wood, it's absorbing that heat and it's draining liquids from your body.
Agreed.
So you got to stay on top of it. It can't be overstated. Like stay on top of your hydration levels because it can be dangerous, especially if you start losing mental focus. You know, we're out there for a reason to be safe, have a good time, and you cannot do that if your mental capabilities are running afoul on you. It just can't happen.
Agreed.
But
Absolutely.
well, where's your next adventure to? Don't tell me it's down a noodling like a hole because my
Oh my
gosh,
god. If I could find a state where it stayed hot enough that catfish spawn year round, I would live in that state.
like
Um,
that's crazy.
and I would totally move somewhere with bigger whitetail if noodling was legal in that state, but I have not found that state yet. And I got the same amount of tags. I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, no
so
one will have that many tags ever.
So I will stay here. And while I'm down here, let's see, it's November. We're about to have rifle season open up.
Yeah,
So I am constantly building that hit list through trail cameras right now. I got my target bow season buck literally opening weekend. It was a super old cull buck that we had on camera for the last 7 years. So that was incredible and a great
that's
start to the
awesome.
season. Thank
Well,
you.
yeah, that is good start to season, man.
I was tickled. Last year was really hard on me. So to start the year like that, I was like, heck yeah, that's
Yeah,
great.
it's
Roll
gonna be a
Tide.
good year when that happens. All
Yes.
right, I have to ask, and I don't know why I have to ask, but I do because it's like going over in my mind now. Do you have any hunting superstitions? Like if you're going out, is there a snack or is there something that you always have to have on you or a lucky rabbit's foot or anything like that for a hunt or any ritual that you have to do?
Honestly, no. I've never been a superstitious person. Like I've always believed in karma, good and bad karma, but I've never been superstitious ever.
When not even
What
a
about
little stitious? Not even a little stitious?
you? I
Oh
just
man,
say a
I
good prayer walking out there. Don't let anything eat me. Don't let anyone get me. Just let me make it to the sand safely. Thank you, Lord. Amen.
all right, that'll work. All right. Aly, tell everybody where they can go find you and find out more about Hoist.
Oh, thank you. I'm on Instagram, Aly from Alabama, Facebook, Aly from Alabama, YouTube, Aly from Alabama, and TikTok, Aly from Alabama.
And
Um,
that's ALY,
yeah, AOI from Alabama.
ALY from Alabama.
Yes, thank you.
All right.
And
And go and drink Hoist.
yes, on all platforms, it's Drink Hoist, and our website is Drink Hoist, so we're not hard to find.
Yep. Perfect. Both not hard to find, but I'm telling you what, stay up on your hydration and give Hoist a try. It's worth it. Like it'll be worth it to your family to remain hydrated.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Thanks, Aly. From Alabama. All right. Gun talkers, you know the deal. You know the drill. Keep those muzzles pointed in a safe direction and always be on the hunt.
To see all of Gun Talk's content, go to guntalk.com, guntalktv.com, or sign up for the Gun Talk newsletter.